Hi, friends, and welcome back to the Midlife Purpose Project. Have you ever felt like life is teaching you something, even if you don't know what? That's what we're talking about today, understanding the ways in which life teaches us and guides us along our journey. And this is a concept in yoga called the universal teacher, or Ishvara in Sanskrit. But really, life is constantly teaching us. It's constantly showing us the way, paving the way for us to move towards more alignment, more peace, more ease, more freedom, more purpose. But we have to be aware enough to recognize where the lessons are coming from, to see them, understand them, and then integrate them into our own lives. I know personally, I've had many experiences where life was trying to teach me, and I didn't see it. I either didn't see it or I didn't want to see it. And that led to a lot more suffering. And so once we can become aware of how life teaches us, the way in which these lessons show up, then we can be on the lookout for them and understand their messages and hopefully prevent ourselves from a lot of suffering. But before we get on to the full talk on that, I wanted to invite you to sign up for my Substack. It's just under my name, Katie Farinas, but I will put the link in the show notes. I really love Substack. It is a great social media platform. It's a lot less noisy than the other platforms that are out there. So if you are really desiring a social media platform that feels like a warm, loving community, no drama, lots of simplicity. Even the way the platform is laid out is very simple. It is very calming to the nervous system. Then head over there. And if you sign up for my account, if you subscribe, you'll be able to access my podcast there, blog posts, articles, all the little reflections and notes that I post throughout the week. So it's a great way of staying connected to me outside of these weekly episodes. But it's also a great way for us to start building more community, because the listeners of this show can go over there and subscribe, and then you guys can start communicating, commenting on posts and notes that I put up. If we really start growing this community, then I will start doing live events over there. So be a trailblazer and go on over and subscribe to my Substack page, and let's get this community together. Because when I started this podcast, it really was part of my intention for starting the podcast was to create community for women in midlife. So let's do that. Let's go on over and start this community together. Hey, gorgeous souls, and welcome to the Midlife Purpose Project. I'm your host, Katie Farinas, a yoga teacher and soul purpose coach. And just like you, I'm navigating the wild, beautiful, and sometimes messy terrain of midlife. This is the space where we unpack the shifts happening in our bodies, minds, and souls. We're diving deep into the questions that rise up when everything seems to be changing. Think of this as your toolkit for making sense of this powerful phase of life. We'll have honest conversations, belly laughs, maybe a few tears, and a whole lot of growth. We'll hear from experts on topics that matter to you in midlife, and I'll share yogic philosophy that has been helping humans live with more skill and ease for centuries. Because here's the truth. Everything you've been through, every challenge, every joy, every heartbreak, has been training you for this. You're not broken, you're not lost. You're stepping into your power. So come on in, embrace the mess, the beauty, and the absolute magic of midlife. Let's journey together. Okay, so this concept in yoga, Ishvara, or the universal teacher. Here we are, we're in midlife. And in midlife, this is a lot of transition is happening at this time, right? We always talk about this, the transition on our minds, in our bodies, in our relationships, in our desires. Everything is shifting and changing. And it can feel really overwhelming, and it can feel confusing. And many of us, if you're here listening to this podcast, are likely feeling like you are not aligned with your soul's purpose, feeling like there's something missing, that you feel you feel like you have done all the right things as far as home and family and career, and yet life just doesn't feel very meaningful to you. You feel like you're on a hamster wheel. And if you're there, if you're seeking purpose, or if you're going through another type of transition that's really difficult in your life, whether that be a change of career, a dissolution of a partnership, stress or trouble with your children, all of these things are really difficult and we want to resist them, but often they are our best teachers. So the universal teacher comes to us in many, many different ways. It is believed that God, the divine, universal consciousness, whatever word feels most comfortable to you, is not something that is out in the world or out in the sky above us. It is something that is in, through, and around us at all times. So it is with us, it is in us, it is around us, it is through us, it's in the ether, it's in our pets, it's in nature. There is nowhere that it is not. And so it is always teaching us through all different ways. Now, one of the ways that it is predominantly teaches us is through our inner teacher. So that's our higher self, our intuition. And last week I did an episode on meditation and how to meditate and beginning a regular meditation practice. And this is one of the many, many gifts of meditation, is this connection to your own inner teacher or inner guru. Because we are our own gurus, and there is so much that we can learn from and understand and get guidance on simply by connecting to that inner guru or our higher self. So, how do we do this besides meditation? Journaling is another beautiful way to do this. Anything really that allows you to become quiet and still. It's in the quiet stillness that we begin the conversation with our higher selves. And that part of us starts to be able to reveal the answers that we seek. So if you are seeking answers on anything, whether that be about your purpose, your job, your relationships, the state of the world at large, whatever answers that you are seeking, you must first get quiet and still, and those answers can come from within. The second place that the universal teacher shows up is in life itself. Life is the teacher. So every challenge you've ever experienced, any unexpected event, any setback, these were all lessons. I can tell you that my developing chronic migraine and having my daughter go through what she went through with her mental health, those were tremendous challenges and setbacks in my life. And they were also some of my greatest teachers. And although it can sometimes, when you're going through something difficult like that, it doesn't feel like life is loving you. It doesn't feel like you're being held by this universal consciousness and guided, but you are. And when you can become aware of that, you can see the lessons that it's trying to teach you, even though it might not be super comfortable. Sometimes we need to get uncomfortable in order to reach a deeper level and come closer to who we were meant to be. And so we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I talk about this in my yoga class all the time when we get into those poses that are really uncomfortable and we hold them. So if you do yoga, think chair pose or warrior one or warrior two, these strength poses where if we start to hold them for a while, they start to be really uncomfortable. The legs start to burn and ache. Maybe there's some shaking. There's a strong desire to get out of the pose. And that is a life lesson, right? When we're in the fire of life, and the fire of life are these challenges, it is burning away what isn't ours. And we have to be able to see and understand that this is life calling us to a deeper level of ourselves. So we have our inner teacher, we have life as a teacher. Then we have the teachers that exist all around us. So I mentioned before that, this universal teacher or consciousness is in, around, and through all of us. So your life lessons could be coming in through a friend, through a mentor, through your children, through your pets, through through your work, through inspirational figures. It could be this. There are messages and guidance coming at you from every single direction. But we just have to have our eyes open so that we can actually see the lessons. And we have to ask for the guidance, right? We have to ask God, universe, divine, um, spiritual guides, help me with this question that I have. Help me to understand. Help me to see what I'm not seeing. Help me to make sense out of this. What am I supposed to do with this situation, person, experience? How can I use it for my good and the good of the world? And you will get the answers that you seek if you ask for the guidance, and then you open your heart and you open your mind and you have the awareness to receive the guidance. It will show up for you. So in this transitionary phase of midlife, when you have so many questions that you likely, if you're listening to this show, you have a lot of questions, ask for the guidance and then open up to receive the guidance. Our bodies are also beautiful teachers. So, listening to our energy, our emotion, the physical sensations of the body, these are all teachers. The nature itself, observing, the seasons, patterns that we see in nature. Nature is teaching us all the time. And I think that we're rushing so much in our lives that we don't often sit and just observe nature and see how much nature actually reflects our life. And maybe I'll do an episode on that. I think that deserves a full episode, because when you really start paying attention, you can see that our life is really just a reflection of nature, because we are part of nature. We are inextricably linked. That episode I recently did on the transition to fall and Ayurveda, I can link that in the show notes as well. But just paying attention to nature and what it has to teach you about life and about your life and about where you're meant to be. So just taking a walk, becoming aware of nature, sitting on your back deck or your front porch or on a park bench, and just taking it in and allowing, again, that stillness and that quiet is what's going to allow you to receive the guidance, because this guidance doesn't often come over a megaphone. It often comes in the quiet reflection, in the stillness, in the space. We can't force it. Rather than forcing an understanding, we have to be open and surrender to what comes and allow it in. And that's where the lessons really, really come from, is that allowing. When I was still working in my nursing job, I really struggled for more than 2 years, 2 to 4 years. Honestly, I lost track of time with if I wanted to leave or not. And for part of that time, I didn't really even know what my purpose was. And then I understood what I was meant to do through a lot of this reflection and connection with my higher self and paying attention to my universal teacher, or the universal teacher. But I was still struggling. It was still a very big and difficult decision for me to make. And I started going into work. And as a nurse, you're going to have some days that are really challenging and other days that aren't so bad. And it just kind of depends on how busy it is and how acutely sick the patients are and things of that nature, what your staffing is like. There are a lot of factors that contribute to the type of day you're going to have. And you really never know when you're walking in the door what kind of day awaits you. And I was always fine with that. For 20 years, I was okay with the fact that I really was never sure what I was walking into that day. But when it came close to the end and I still hadn't decided what I was going to do, every day that I went to work was a really, really challenging day. And I started to see the pattern and I started to recognize that this is what Ishvara needed to give me so that I would finally leave. I would finally leave this career that I knew in my heart I no longer belonged, where I knew I did not belong there anymore. But yet there were things that were keeping me there and making me not want to leave, even though I knew I didn't belong there. And so this universal teacher started sending me really difficult days, day after day after day after day, until I finally heard the message and also concede it. I hear you. I know this is true in my heart, but I'm also having trouble making the decision. And so you're going to make my life as difficult as possible until I finally make the decision. So that was, and I saw that because I was aware of the universal teacher. I knew what was happening. And I'm grateful for that lesson. That went on for, gosh, it went on for probably close to a year. I was really stubborn. But I'm really grateful for it because without that, I don't think I would have had the courage to do what I knew I should be doing. But there was so much fear and resistance still there. And it was those extremely challenging days repetitively that finally I acquiesced to doing what I really knew I should be doing all along. So that's just an example from my own personal life of how, the teacher shows up and shows up in really unexpected ways. The teacher can also show up in really beautiful ways. Synchronicities are a prime example of how this happens. And if you're on my newsletter, you probably received the newsletter where I talked about synchronicities. Basically, synchronicities are two events that are seemingly unconnected that somehow become connected and you can't find a reason. You can't point to a reason as to why. And again, I'll give you an example from my own personal life recently. I taught a class on a Monday night, a yoga class, and it had a particular theme, as it always does. And I planned out the asana, the postures, taught it on a Monday night. I come into yoga on Tuesday morning, this time not as the teacher, but as the practitioner. And the teacher that day has the same exact theme and nearly the same exact beginning portion of the flow. And I thought, wow, that's kind of crazy. And then during the class, I had this download come in about creating a class with live music and asking this particular person to be the one to supply the live music. So after class, I went to the person. I said, would you be interested in doing this? And the person said, wow, that's so weird. Kate, that's the other yoga teacher, Kate and Katie, also a synchronicity, just asked me to do the same thing. So here we are, two separate people. We have not communicated at all about the class that we had prepared. We hadn't communicated about this idea of having a class with live music, and yet these two things happened simultaneously, and then we came in contact with one another. Okay, so that's a great example of the universal teacher saying, good job, you're on the right path, keep going this way, and I'll keep sending you messages. So when you are getting hotter, I will send you a good message. And when you're getting colder, you might need a little discomfort to redirect you. Okay, so use that in your own life, that idea. Remember the game we used to play when we were kids about I think you would hide something and then you would go to try to find it. I don't remember the name of the game. And the person who hid it would say, as you were getting closer, they would say hotter, hotter, hotter. And if you were getting further away, they would say colder, colder, colder. Well, the universe is kind of like that. It's always giving us messages. It's always teaching us something that we need to learn. And it's always trying to guide us. And it's telling us if we're getting hotter or colder. And sometimes the discomfort, the challenges are the universal teacher saying, you're really off the road. You are really cold right now. And you need this level of discomfort to get you back into alignment. Just like in my nursing job, right? I really knew I was out of alignment. I knew I needed to come back, and yet I still wasn't doing it because of different fears that I was holding on to. And the universe taught me a lesson, right? And it taught me through that discomfort. But also know that this teacher, if you're open to it, can really, it can show up literally on a billboard. You can get a message on a billboard. You can get it through a book. You can get it through a song. If it's something that comes to you and it feels meaningful, then it is the universal teacher speaking to you. So, how do we apply what we've learned into our daily life? As always, small, small steps. Okay. So, the universal teacher is everywhere all the time. And midlife is the perfect time to recognize that and to learn from what consciousness is trying to teach us. So, meditation, as I mentioned, is beautiful practice, journaling, spending some time in nature, and opening the heart and the mind to be available for what the teacher wants to show you. And listening to the body. This is another beautiful practice, listening to the body. Just the awareness that anything and everything that you come in contact with or experience can be part of this universal teacher gives you the power to access the teacher and the teacher's lessons. We didn't even talk about actual gurus, but those are part of the universal teacher as well, right? So people like Jesus and the Buddha and Gandhi and Mother Teresa and you can access those people through their teachings, right? Their teachings are still profound. So that those are part of the universal conscious, universal teacher that still exists today, even though those people are no longer with us. But then there are many beautiful spiritual teachers today doing incredible work, people that are considered gurus doing incredible work. So not dismissing those as well. I hope that this is helpful to you. I hope it helps you to make sense maybe of some of the challenging things that are happening to you, that it helps you open your heart and your mind to those lessons that are available to you on your journey, and to feel a sense of peace, to know that you are being guided by a loving force that wants the best for you, that wants to help you to evolve and to come home to who you really are. And that when you feel overwhelmed, confused, conflicted, lost, that this energy is in and around and through you at all times. All right, my friends. If you have a universal teacher, if you've had an experience with the universal teacher that you want to tell me about, I would love to hear about it. So you can become a Substack subscriber and send me a message over there. You can message me on Instagram. You can comment if you listen on Spotify. But I would just love to hear any experiences that you have personally had where you felt like the universe was talking to you, and whether or not you listened, and then what happened when you did or did not listen. And I'd love to share it with the community too. So I hope this was helpful. I will talk to you guys next week. Have a beautiful weekend. And as always, I love you so much. Namaste. Thank you for joining me on this journey of self-discovery here at the Midlife Purpose Project. I hope today's conversation sparked something deep inside of you, made you laugh, or reminded you that you are never alone. Remember, it's never too late to reconnect with your soul's purpose and live a life of meaning. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and review the show, or share it with someone who could use a little inspiration. It really helps the show reach more women and helps me keep the content ad-free. Join me next time as we continue to explore what it means to live with purpose in midlife.